All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here, and this is Abby Alt, our home team lead. Yes, welcome to all of you online people. We're glad you're here tonight, wherever you're joining us from, whatever state or living room or sober living house. We're glad you're part of this community. Now, this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And as always, there is one thing we do not do here. Y'all can shout it out on the count of 3. If you're in your living room tonight, I want you to shout it out. 1, 2, 3.
We don't do shame.
We don't do shame. Listen to them.
But we do a lot of other cool things.
Yes, Abby, we have a big week coming up.
We do. It is
Tell
a
them about the big week.
You guys. I'm really excited about this week. All right, but first of all, if this is your first time joining us here at Free, welcome. We're so happy to have you. We have welcome bags for you, so make sure that you approach a home team member. We wear these, I'm here to help, and we'll make sure to get you a welcome bag. It has some freshly roasted wagon coffee. It has some free swag and a connect card, so you can stay connected with all the cool things that are happening here, like
you.
I stay connected with you if you connect with us. So, but this Thursday, you guys, we are having the Ho holidays.
Ha holidays.
Okay. I'm having a flashback.
Yeah.
I've had a few holidays
that's a different
myself,
comedy
right?
club, Abby. Different
I got baptized,
club.
you guys. I got baptized.
We might need to do it again. That first one didn't stick.
It didn't stick. Woo! All right, I'm hopped up on caffeine. Let's pray. Let's take it. I will take it. Okay. All right, you guys, we are having the holidays. Hoes not included. A sober comedy special. You guys, we're having a comedy show here at Free. We are partnering with the Phoenix.
Yes.
I will be hosting and emceeing it. We do have a nationwide headliner here named Ben Roy, who is also in active recovery. We have a feature who is Debbie Shearer. She is a professional auctioneer and an incredible comedian. And then our opener is BK Sherrod, who is so funny. So this is also going to be our holiday party. So we will be wearing ugly sweaters. The home team is bringing cookies. So doors are at 6. Yeah, homemade cookies. The doors are at 6, show starts at 7, but please make sure that you register. We do have little flyers out throughout the cafe. This QR code is not working, so make sure you use one of the ones in the cafe, but make sure you register. We have a lot of people coming.
Yeah, we have 250 people registered so far, so we're going to pack in here like sardines. We'll have overflow in the cafe. But if you do want to come, there is still time for you. We are cutting it off at 300, so please do register if you plan on coming.
Yes, we don't want to leave you out. And then we also have yoga coming up on Yuletide Yoga on December 20th from noon till 1. It is going to be hosted by our very own Maggie Barfoot. If you have not attended one of her yoga classes on Monday nights or Saturday, I highly recommend them. And our very own Kira will be doing sound bowls, so it's just going to be an incredible way to just have some relaxation during a really busy time. So Wednesday, the 20th from 12 to 1. And then we also have a new meeting starting here on Mondays, which is an Eating Disorder Anonymous meeting. It will be in the prayer and meditation room December 11th from 7 to 8 p.m. So if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, we now have a meeting for that.
Yeah, and that's going to be every Monday, starting this Monday.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Abby.
My pleasure.
Good to see you tonight.
Good to see you.
Look at that. You're getting a round of applause. I love it. All right, y'all, a couple of things I want to make you aware of. Next week, I hope y'all come next week. We are having my friend Seth Bott. Seth, if you're watching tonight, we can't wait to welcome you here next week. Seth is going to be our guest preacher next week. I invited Seth. Seth lives in St. Louis. He started tuning into Free about 1.5 years ago. He's in seminary right now. He is in a second-year MDiv student at SMU, Perkins School of Theology. He lives in St. Louis, has been on staff as a pastor of a church, and he is 5 years into his recovery. He was a former meth head. And so I said, Seth, you got to come out and share your story, dude. This is your place, you know. And he's been wanting to come out to Free, so we set it for this weekend. He's also an openly gay pastor, and he's going to share his from Missouri, and I know what that's like. So he's going to share his story around shame and recovery, and it's going to be all kinds of good. So I hope you plan on coming next week to help welcome our friend Seth. Yes, we're clapping for you, Seth. Yeah, so that will be next week. Elizabeth will be our guest storyteller. She's going to be phenomenal. Now, the following week, so 2 weeks from tonight, is Christmas Eve, because it's the day before Christmas Eve. It's Saturday night here. Not much is different except it's Christmas Eve. So it'll be our candlelight services, both 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Remember last year how we lit a candle together. We played with some fire. All y'all will have a candle, and we're going to light up the darkness. We're going to be reminded that light shines in the darkness. Silent no more, but we are going to sing Silent Night. The one and only Sarah Hornbuckle will be here leading us in Silent Night, and it's going to be beautiful. So I hope you plan on coming. Bring your friends, bring family, because we do this work together. And children, let me just speak to you, adults, parents in the room. Children are encouraged to attend the service because we are playing with fire. Children are encouraged to attend, but for those 5 and under, the nursery will be open for them, so that's an option for you. So that'll be in 2 weeks, Christmas Eve. And tonight, we are in the second week of Advent, which means we are going to light John and why am I blanking on your name? John and Carrie. I've only known them 5 years. I couldn't get the name out. John and Carrie, come on up. John and Carrie Allison. We are, yeah. Man, I love it. We're a clapping crowd tonight. We are lighting the Advent candles of hope, and this week it's peace. And if you're a bit fuzzy still on what Advent is because you haven't been with us the past couple of weeks, well, it's simply the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, what we're preparing for, what we're reflecting on, the new thing coming into the world, the light that will be shining in the darkness. So we take time and prepare for this. So John's going to lead us in an Advent prayer, and Carrie will light the Advent candles of hope and peace.
The Advent prayer. This evening, we light 2 candles, the candle of hope and the candle of peace. These candles remind us that God came into our world through the form of a vulnerable baby to offer hope and restore peace. When we trust that God is love and full of grace and mercy, we find our own inner peace. We remember that Christ is the Prince of Peace who taught us the way of inviting God in so that we may experience peace within and spread peace to others.
Amen. Thank you, John. Thank you, Carrie. Well, if y'all are, let me grab this mic. If y'all are new with us tonight, you should know that we start our Saturday nights with celebrations. Here you go, Matt and Renee. They'll be passing around mics. What we do is we take 3 minutes for this, a very important part of our time together, to lift up the good. Maybe you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary or a birthday, or the new thing that comes in recovery, or so many days clean from fentanyl, whatever it is. We want to celebrate that with you. We believe that God joins with us in the celebrations. If you're online, simply put your celebrations in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments, whatever platform you're joining us from. We want to celebrate with you there. And we take 3 minutes for this. So this time is yours. Just slip up your hand. Matt or Renee will get you a mic.
Hi, I'm Ryan. Today I'm 43 days clean of cocaine and alcohol.
Way to go, Ryan. That's a big deal.
I'm Kai, and I have 9 months free of fentanyl today.
Kai, woo! 9 months clean.
I'm Allison, and I'm celebrating that my friend Tyler is here for the first time.
Welcome, Tyler. We'll celebrate that. Glad you're here.
I'm Chantel, and I'm 13 days free of fentanyl.
13 days. Way to go.
I'm Denise, and I have 14 days free of meth and alcohol.
All right. Way to go.
I'm Kavita, and I've been looking for a place to live for about 2 months, and I finally found a place. So I'm moving January 1st if you want to be of service.
All right. Thank you, Kavita. Congratulations.
My name is Chris. I'm an addict, and I'm celebrating finishing 9 months of DUI classes last Wednesday.
Oh, way to go, Chris. Some of us have been there.
I'm Melissa, and I'm just super grateful to be able to be in this service with my niece tonight.
All right. We're glad y'all are together.
I'm just celebrating 4 months sober. So.
Nice. Way to go. We're proud of you. Congratulations.
I'm Kevin, and today is 6 months of being sober.
Way to go, Kevin. Congratulations, buddy.
I'm Ashley. I'm celebrating 76 days clean and sober from fentanyl.
Way to go, Ashley.
Give me some. My name's Matthew. I got 90 days Monday, alcoholic addict.
Way to go, Matthew.
My name's Teray, and I finally got a job, and I'm 49 days sober.
All right. Congratulations.
My name is Carmen. It's my third time here.
Yeah. Welcome back,
been,
Carmen. We're glad you're here.
My son was kidnapped for 10 years. I tried to commit suicide to drink myself to death, which I almost succeeded. But now he's home with me, and I'm going 3 weeks of my sobriety.
All right, Carmen. Keep on doing it.
I'm Mark, and I am 58 days clean and sober on fentanyl and meth.
Way to go, Mark.
I'm Tyler, and I'm also clean 58 days from meth.
The 58-day, brothers. Who's taking us out? You got 6 seconds.
I'm Tish, and I'm a little over 90 days sober off of alcohol.
Way to go, Tish. Congratulations. Thank you, Matt and Renee. Renee, if you just want to put that mic on the side of the stage there, and I'll put this one over here. Oh, wait, you need this one. Because Tammy is joining me up here, ladies and gentlemen. Tammy Canaday. We're going to join with our online people and celebrate with them.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, lots of celebrations
I know.
tonight.
We
Lots
have,
of
there's
variety
a,
in the house.
there's a vibe. There's a vibe.
Yeah.
Are y'all feeling the vibe? There's like an energy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, shall we join with them?
Do you want to switch tonight?
Yes.
Okay, back
You
to the
know,
normal.
Man of routine. Okay.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Fredo says, I wanted to celebrate 110 days free off of fentanyl. Thank you to the free community and all the Pathfinders family.
Thanks, Fredo.
Way to go, Fredo.
Amazing.
We're celebrating with you.
And Kay says, God willing, I will have 2 years clean from meth and fentanyl on Thursday.
Way to go, Kay. Damien says 30, I'm assuming 30 days, and no cocaine.
Sweet.
Way to go, Damien. Proud of you, man.
And Christy says, thankful to be spending the weekend with my brother on our annual Christmas weekend getaway, celebrating the blessings of the year. I think she said in Tennessee. So.
Yeah, all right. Way to go, Christy. We'll celebrate that with you. Jonathan says, I'm celebrating being released from probation after 4 years.
That's
Way to
good
go,
stuff.
Jonathan.
And Clifford, hey Cliff, says, I'm attending nursing school at CU and shoots in January.
Way to go, Cliff. We'll celebrate that. Tammy Canaday, anything else we're celebrating?
There's so much to celebrate. I don't know.
There is?
Oh, it's just been like celebrating. It just keeps going.
Oh, it does keep going.
Do you have anything to celebrate?
Not necessarily. Should
Okay.
I?
I don't know.
Okay. We're not having another baby,
We're not
are
having
we?
another baby.
Okay, that's always my fear, you know. Someone will have to tell me how that happens because, you know, we got 4 of them. All right, y'all. So we are in the second week of this series called Silent No More. But Danny Colella, our digital content director, he put together a little reel this week for a little invitation video for our Christmas Eve service, which has everything to do with Silent No More. And here it is.
The holiday season can amplify the silent battles of addiction, often hidden under shame, disconnection, and isolation. To battle it, we run towards community. Join our Silent No More candlelight service, a gathering of strength and support. Together we can break the silence, offering compassion and hope to those who need it most.
So here we are in this series titled Silent No More, but just to begin with a moment of clarity, because y'all do know silence can be a beautiful thing. Is it true? Yeah, if you're sitting with your friend who's grieving, your silence is a beautiful thing. If you are someone who is addicted to always being right, no matter what conversation you're in, I promise you your silence is a beautiful thing for you and other people. If you are constantly reacting in your life rather than pausing and responding, then your silence is a beautiful thing. And the truth is, you will have sacred moments in your life that demand your silence, and that can be a very beautiful thing. But here's the deal. If your silence is leading you to dishonesty or complicity, your silence becomes a very big problem. It was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who said, "There comes a time when silence is betrayal. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." So Silent No More is about you getting honest with your life. It's actually about you being free. And I want to remind you, your freedom will always come with a cost. And in my experience, you will get honest with your life only when you come to the end of yourself. And you believe that what is on the other side of that brutal honesty is better than what you have right now. You know, when I was 16 years old, I had my very first drink of alcohol. I didn't plan for this. I didn't put a plan in place. I wasn't scheming over it. I certainly wasn't obsessing over it. I literally woke up that morning at 9 in the morning, and I saw that bottle of Bacardi rum, and something in my mind said, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. I was at my dad and stepmom's house in St. Louis for the weekend, and my sister was there. Her boyfriend, who is now my brother-in-law, was there, and I was meeting up with a childhood friend was coming over later that morning, and we were going to go to the mall. But I saw that bottle of Bacardi rum, and I said, I'm going to try that. And y'all, when I took my first drink, I'll never forget it. I sipped out of the bottle, and when it went into me, I had this amazing feeling, like this feeling of, I didn't know this feeling existed for me. I didn't know it was available to me. My first encounter, my first experience with drinking was not a pretty one. It was a blackout drunk. It was me puking all over myself and all over the floor. I'm told that my sister's boyfriend, who's now my brother-in-law, he took me out to the backyard and hosed me off with a hose and then threw me in a tub where I continued to be a blackout drunk. And do y'all know where my dishonesty began? It did not begin with the quantity of drinks. I got to that point, but it was later, and I spent a lot of time there lying about how many drinks I had. Some of y'all can relate. But my dishonesty began later that week when some of my youth group friends from the church found out that I was good and drunk. And they approached me about it. Candidate, what was it like? How did it feel? Did you like it? And you know what I said to them? I said, man, it was awful. I don't understand why anyone would ever do this. I was puking all over the place, and I can't remember much because I was blackout drunk. And I said, I'll never do it again. Yeah, right? Because the truth is, what was inside of me was, man, I can't wait to get that feeling again. because when that stuff went into my body, it made me feel different. And I was always addicted to that wanting to feel different. The isolation went away. I didn't feel bad. There wasn't any shame in that moment. I remember the feeling of wanting to belong as a kid and trying to figure out what that looks like. I was addicted to wanting to feel different, and I had to get honest in my life. I chased that until the age of 30, and I can tell you that chase came with producing a lot of shame. Chasing that feeling of being different, of feeling different. I had to admit to myself and other people that I was an alcoholic, and I liked the effects produced by alcohol. I had to admit to myself and other people that I was not like them. That no matter how hard I tried or no matter how many times I tried, I'm never going to be like my wife Tammy, who can sit down over dinner and have a glass of wine. Or she can do something as crazy as drink a half glass of wine, then pour the other half back into the bottle to save it for a later time. I'm never going to be that way. I had to admit that I was mentally and bodily different. When a drink goes into my body, I'm very clear on this now. If a drink were to go into my body today, my mind obsesses over it, and it says more. More, and the more is never enough. And Ryan, if you take this, once it gets in you, you're going to be more powerful, you're going to be more likable, you're going to be more this, more that, and the more will never be enough. Page 30 in the big book of AA puts it this way. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step of recovery. The delusion that we are like other people or presently may be has to be smashed. See, I had to get honest with my life. I had to smash some things, and it did. I tell you, it comes with a cost. I had to look at myself, take an honest look. Looking in the mirror, that's not an easy task if you're not used to it. I had to smash old images. I had to see, as my friend Matt reminds me, that I'm not a bad man trying to get good, but I'm a sick man trying to get well. Yes. And see, I had to look at and clear up the wreckage of my past. In honesty, it'll always come with a cost, and I can tell you it's worth it. Do you know when I started getting honest with myself and other people and started making amends to those I had harmed? Man, it was like the scariest thing I'd ever done. And yet, I experienced a freedom that I did not know was available to me. You see, my brothers and sisters, do you remember the moment you got honest with your life? It was scary, wasn't it? But there was something in you that said, I can't go on living this way anymore. Not one more lie, not one more secret. Not one more moment of trying to stay silent about my life and the things that matter. And yet, in that moment, even if you didn't feel it all the way, in that moment, you were free. Do you remember it? Has anyone seen the movie Flight, starring Denzel Washington? Okay, for those of you that have not raised your hand, you need to watch this movie. Highly recommend it. One of the best films I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it or you need a little refresher, here's your refresher. Whip Whitaker, played by the great Denzel Washington. He's a very successful commercial airline pilot. But Whip Whitaker is also an alcoholic and a drug addict. And he's managed so far to complete all of his flights successfully until that one day, when there was a major mechanical malfunction, and it sent the plane that he was piloting, he was the captain, it sent it twirling down to the ground. And Whip Whitaker does a miraculous crash landing. In fact, the experts in the film say that everyone in the plane should have died that day. Only 6 people, only 6 lives were lost. And Whip is kind of brought into this new reality. He's shaken to his core. So he decides he's going to try to get sober, but he struggles to get sober. He struggles to get and stay sober and hold it all together. And then the investigative team comes in, because after any crash, this is the way they do things. And Whip has the best legal team that money can buy. He has a legal team that is willing to cover everything up. They're willing to cover up that he was actually drunk at the time of this plane crash that he was piloting. Even though it was a miraculous crash landing, he was drunk. They were willing to cover up the 2 empty vodka bottles, the little shooters, that were found in the trash cans just outside the pilot's door. They were willing to blame it on a flight attendant who actually died in the plane crash. You see, all it took was one more lie. He just had to tell this one more lie, and he would have been free. But Whip Whitaker, he's exhausted. He's tired. He finally gives himself to a moment of honesty, and there were consequences to his honesty. Here's the courtroom scene of Whip Whitaker.
Is it your opinion?
And sorry to our online viewers, we weren't able to show that to you because of copyright laws. God help me. It is one of the most beautiful prayers we can pray. And if you haven't seen the film, it ends with Whip Whitaker is actually sitting in a prison cell because there's consequences for his honesty, consequences for his actions. And he's reading these cards sent from friends and family because he is now 1 year sober, and they're celebrating his 1 year sober. And then it cuts to the next scene, and he's sitting with fellow inmates, and he's actually helping them in their recovery. And he says to them, I have zero regrets about doing the right thing. And then he drops this most profound line. He says, I know it sounds crazy coming from a guy sitting in a prison cell, but for the first time in my life, I'm free. You see, you're going to get honest with your life when you come to the end of yourself and you believe that what's on the other side of that brutal honesty is better than it is right now. You see, I would ask you, do you want to be free? I mean, no matter whatever battle you are going through in your life, if you want to be free, you are going to have to get honest with yourself. And yes, you're going to have to get honest with other people. Because you do know our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. And in my experience, the biggest thing that will keep you from getting honest with your life is this thinking of, well, if they know my past, if they know who I really am, if they know what's really in here, they're not going to want me. It's always the fear about not belonging. If my youth group friends know what's really in here, they're not going to accept me. I won't be one of them. I won't belong. You know, there's a very beautiful story in John's Gospel, chapter 4. It's about this encounter of Jesus meeting a Samaritan woman at a well, and it's a story about shame and secrets and hiding and how God handles people with a past. In fact, before the story even begins, we're given a really important detail. And pay attention, because the story starts with Jesus left Judea and started back to Galilee. This was before the days of Uber, of course, so he's walking. He went through Samaria and entered into the town called Sychar. Now, why is this a really important detail? Because you have to remember, first century Jews hated Samaritans. They despised them. There's a long history there. They looked at them as unclean people. These are people you would never interact with. You certainly wouldn't walk through their town because you might come in contact with them. You might have to say hello to them. Now, the text also tells us that it was noon that day when Jesus arrived in Sychar at a well, which means no one should be there because everyone would come to draw their water from the well early in the morning so they would have water during the day and they wouldn't have to carry heavy buckets of water in the heat of the day. Now, Jesus, he doesn't go around the traditional way if you're a good Jew, and remember, Jesus is what? Jewish, traveling with his Jewish disciples. So they would, if they were in Judea, south, and needed to go north to Galilee, you would go around. You would go across the Jordan River, go around, then cross back over the Jordan River and make it up north to Galilee. Jesus doesn't do that. He goes right through Samaria. And he arrives at this well, and there's a woman drawing water there at noon. Why? Because she has a past that she's ashamed of. And she doesn't want to be seen by anyone. And if you read this story in John chapter 4, you would see that this conversation ensues, and Jesus asks this woman, can you give me some water? And she says, wait a minute, you're a Jewish man and you're asking me for water? And he says to her, actually, if you knew who I was, you would be asking me for water because I give this kind of living water that leads to the fullest kind of life. And the woman says to him, how do I get that water? That's the kind of life I want. The life you're talking about, that's what I want. How do I get it? Jesus said to her, go get your husband and come back here. Obviously, now the problem is created. Because in her mind, if he finds this secret out before giving me the living water, if he finds out about my past, well, this might be a deal breaker. Check it out. The woman replied, I don't have a husband. You are right to say I don't have a husband, Jesus answered. You've had 5 husbands, and the man you are with now isn't your husband. You've spoken the truth. You see what's happening here? She's a woman who's ashamed of a secret that she is holding on to. And the text is unclear. Did her first 4 husbands, did they die? Was she battered and abused and left by them? Did she play a role in this? We don't know. The text doesn't tell us. We don't have context here. All we know is that her secret isolates her from community. And do you remember from last week? Healing is about being restored back into the community. Now, she knows, sitting with Jesus, she's got 3 strikes against her. I'm a Samaritan, I'm a woman who's looked down on by men, and my past has stained my reputation. And Jesus still sits with her and offers life. Why? Because Jesus doesn't do shame. Check it out. Just then his disciples came back. They were shocked. Jesus, why'd you go through Samaria? You should have followed us across the Jordan. They couldn't believe he was talking with that kind of woman. No one said what they were all thinking, but their faces showed it. The woman put down her water jar and went back into the city. She said to the people, come and see a man who has told me everything I've done, and the text doesn't say it, but it's implied, and still loved me. Come and see a man who's told me everything I've done and still loves me. And she dropped everything and ran towards the people, the very people that her shame kept her from. She runs to them and says, come check this thing out. Come check this out. This God told me I was worthy. This God told me I am not my past. This God didn't do shame. You see, knowing who she was, knowing that she was worthy of love and belonging was the thing that allowed her to get honest. She was free. She was able to set aside the fear and actually run towards people. My brothers and sisters, if you don't believe you are worthy of love and belonging, you're never going to get honest. Why would you? Have you sat long enough with a God who says, you're worthy of love? You're worthy of belonging. And yes, I know about your past, and I don't do shame. And here's the real kicker in the story. It comes at the very end. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I ever did and still loved me. You see, the truth is, when you shed the shame and the silence and you get honest with your life, you have no clue the lives that will be impacted because of that, the lives that will be impacted because of you. And I'll close with this. When I was 21 years old, I got a DUI. And I was a college student studying biblical studies, training to go into ministry. I was filled with embarrassment. It was only 3 years after my brother was killed of this. And so making that phone call to Mom, I hated it. I was filled with embarrassment, filled with shame, the kind of shame that leads you deeper into your lies. And I had to do those DUI courses. Chris mentioned them during celebrations. I had to do that a year long of DUI courses, and I'll never forget when I walked in and met the instructor. You know what I told him? I said, dude, I don't know how this happened. I only drink in moderation. I don't get drunk. Lie. I don't know what happened. Maybe someone put something in my drink that night, or I didn't drink enough water. I'm not exactly sure how it happened. It was just a one-time thing. Lie. Filled with so much shame and embarrassment. Tammy and I were engaged to be married at the time. And you loved ones will know exactly what I'm talking about here. She very much understood, we didn't even have to talk about it, she very much understood the unwritten rule. And that is, and it lasted all the way through my addiction, my active addiction, don't tell anyone. No one can find out about this. Do you know 6 months ago, I received a phone call from Hector. I had never met Hector. Hector called me while I was driving one day, and he was in a very dark spot in his life. He said he found my number on the internet. Very dark spot in his life. He had just lost his son to a brutal act of senseless violence. And he said, I can't believe this is happening. I got this new struggle. Here I am later in life, and I didn't used to struggle with this, but I can't put down the bottle. I can't stop drinking, and I want to get sober. And he came in the next day. He didn't tell me he was coming into free, but he came in the next day, and I said hi to him, and I apologized to him. I said, I'm sorry, I'm in another meeting, and I'll have to meet up with you later. And apparently, after I said hi to him and went back to my meeting, he made his way back to the cafe and found Tammy. He stumbled upon Tammy, And he was telling Tammy this story, and he said, I just lost my son to this senseless act of violence, and I can't put down the bottle. And on top of that, I recently got hit with a DUI. And you know what she said to him? She said, oh yeah, my husband has one of those too. And he said, your husband? Who's your husband? She says, oh, my husband, you were just talking to him. It's Ryan. He's the pastor here at Free. He says, wait a minute, your husband, the pastor here, has a DUI? And she says, yeah, he's an alcoholic like you, and he's in recovery. He said, wait a minute, your husband is, and he's putting it together. I didn't see Hector since that day. That was 6 months ago. On last Thursday, the day we were signing all the papers to buy this building, I was here kind of late that night, and I'm walking out, literally walking out of these back doors towards my car, and you know those moments where your heart is so full, you say, man, it's been a good day. I don't think my heart could get any fuller than this. In those moments, God sometimes says, watch this. And I hear someone yelling at me. He says, hey, Pastor Ryan. And I turn around, and it's Hector. And I walked up to Hector. We gave each other a big hug. And he says, man, Ryan, we're sitting right out here in this hallway talking. He says, you'll never know what this place means to me. And he goes on to tell me about this conversation he had with Tammy. I said, she told you all? She told you that? And you know why she could speak about it? Because the shame and the silence no longer has a voice in that story. We've worked through that. We've done the inner work. And then he says, on that day, I went to a meeting that night. It was a Tuesday night, Sober Souls meeting. He said, I got my 24-hour chip. I said, dude, I didn't know that. That's so awesome. And he says, you know what happened just last week? And he points to this room that y'all are sitting in. He says, this room right over here. He said, I picked up my 6-month chip. I said, dude, thank God for the Sober Souls. And he says to me, you'll never know how this place has saved my life. And so you know me, I get out the phone, and I said, we got to capture this moment. I take a picture. That's Hector. You see, when you shed the shame and the silence, when you get honest with your life, you never know the lives that will be impacted because of that, because of you. But it does all start with some honesty, and I encourage you to get there. So take a moment and reflect on your life. What does honesty look like? What is honesty? Where are you withholding honesty in your life? This song is called Truth Be Told. Take a moment and reflect. Man, last service I was walking out these doors to fill up my hot tea because I stopped drinking coffee about 3:30, 4 o'clock on Saturdays. But I was walking out to get my hot tea, and someone followed me out, and he said, "Hey, I gave Hector his 24-hour chip 6 months ago." And I was like, dude, sometimes we all get to be part of this together. And someone was just telling me when I got to get hot tea just now, they said, I was at the meeting just last week where Hector picked up his 6-month chip. We all get to do this work together and watch lives transform. It's a very powerful thing we get to be a part of. If you're new with us here, you should know that every single Saturday night, we have a guest, a storyteller in the house to join me in the living room to share some of their experience, strength, and hope around the topic at hand. And so I can't wait for y'all to meet my friend, Rebecca. Rebecca Leatherman comes to us tonight with the perspective of being the loved one of, because you remember we're a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. She's going to share some of her story around being the loved one tonight. Help me welcome my friend, Rebecca. All right. Rebecca, welcome back. It's been a long time.
Yes.
An hour.
Yes, a whole hour.
So here's the deal. I want to give you all just a little context about Rebecca, and then she's going to get deeper into her story. But just so we could get a little snapshot here, Rebecca was married to an abusive alcoholic. She's been divorced for 8 years. At the age of 14, she was told by her family, her parents, that something was wrong with her. And so they threw her into therapy and all kinds of medications, and that's the tool that was given to you to deal with things, just get on more medication. Growing up, she wasn't, no religious experience, no real spiritual path to walk down. And she said she didn't realize she had no concept of hope until 2017, when you were dealing with a very difficult situation with your 6-year-old son who was in the hospital fighting for his life. And that sent Rebecca into this concept called catastrophizing. It means when things happen, your mind automatically goes to the bad. Things are going to fall apart. Things are going to turn south. So, Rebecca, that's some of the very short story of the long history. And I realize it's always more complex than that. I tried to simplify it the best I could. But I think it's worth hearing from you. When did you realize that you needed to get honest with your life and that you actually needed some help?
Yeah. So as Ryan mentioned, I've been divorced now 8 years, but about 2 years ago, I was finally coming into a space where, I spent about a decade sort of in crisis survival mode because, my life was just chaos, and I was finally coming into this period of peace, and I realized that even though things were getting better, I didn't feel any better, and I was recognizing all of these issues I was having. So I got myself some help. I got a therapist. And fast forward a few months, I realized that I really needed to get really honest with the world about what I experienced when I was married. And I decided to, publicly come forward and say that I was a domestic abuse survivor.
Yeah, and you said those words out loud. I'm a domestic abuse survivor.
Right. As I mentioned to you, there's one thing about saying words like, I've been abused and saying the words, but there's something else behind actually feeling them. So I had spent a day with my dog in a park and was really reconnecting with this feeling of joy, and I decided to post a picture of myself on Instagram with this picture, reconnecting with joy, hashtag domestic abuse survivor. And it was really the first time I'd ever done that. And, there was an immediate reaction.
And you didn't know your Instagram was that because this cross-posting thing
I'm
that everyone had
not
to
tech
get used
savvy,
to.
and
It went to Facebook.
Right, and it was connected to my Facebook, and I didn't really realize that. And I had a lot of connections in Facebook with my ex-husband, my ex-husband's family, his extended family, his family friends, and you know, everybody's seeing this for the first time, and it sort of resulted in an immediate, you know, what are you doing? How can you say that? You know, that's not real. All of these, what are you going to tell your kids? And so it was sort of an instantaneous backlash.
Yeah, and Rebecca, can you help us understand? Because I think sometimes when outsiders are looking in, we say things like, well, why didn't you talk to your friends about this? Why didn't you open up about this? And I loved when you were telling me the part of the discussion of the real fear that was around getting honest. And can you help us understand that?
Sure. I mean, there's, when you're actually in a marriage or a relationship with an alcoholic, you know, it's not something you can talk about with anybody, because there's the fear that, you know, your friends are going to dislike your mate or your spouse or your partner, and, you know, then not want to spend time with you. And then there's the fear that, you know, you're going to be even more alone. You can't really talk to your family about it, because same reason, you know, if I tell my parents are going to hate my husband and they're not going to want to spend time with me. And so it's just this like very isolating feeling where you really feel like you're lying to everybody in the world. You can't be honest about anything.
Yeah. And what about social situations?
Yeah, well, social situations are even more difficult because, you know, you sort of have to micromanage and control the whole situation. So, you know, if we're going out, you know, I have to monitor your drinking and, you know, either take your alcohol from you, drink it myself, hide it, you know, because you don't want anybody to know. And there's always that threshold where the alcoholic kind of goes overboard, and then you become embarrassed and shameful, and you're trying to shuffle them out the door, and all in this fear that if anybody finds out, you know, they're gonna not want to spend time with me, or they're gonna tell me to leave, and then when I don't leave, they're gonna judge me for it. So it's just this like never-ending cycle.
Yeah, I mean, a very real fear of shame.
Yeah,
that comes into play.
It's all shame.
Yeah,
it's all shame
so,
and hiding.
Help us understand too. What steps did you take? And I know it's often a process. It's not like we say it one time. Oh, I already put it on Instagram, so I'm honest.
Right. Yeah.
What steps did you take to get honest and?
So I mean, the Instagram post was a big deal because it got me feeling like I could really be honest with, like I wanted to be honest with people. You know, I wanted to like type my story and write a book and contact all my old friends and my family and tell them everything, the truth, right? Some people want to hear that, some people don't. You know, I also really started doing the work with my therapist to like unpack the problems that were like the source. I also started to really take a look at what I needed to do to be like in my own skin and honest with myself about my whatever was in me to get me in that relationship. Because I mean, the truth is, I was broken before I married the alcoholic. That's the reason I was in that relationship. So I had to really dig into that and sort of deal with my own shame and my own issues from my past, and get honest with myself.
So, was that a scary process, or
Yeah.
was it like, I'm just ready for this because I've been miserable?
No, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to spend time in their ick. You know, like, I don't want to think about those periods of time, but the truth is, if you don't do that, you're never going to get healed.
Yeah.
So I really had to spend the time and go through the sadness, and I had to feel the feelings. Because that's the other thing, you know, as somebody who has PTSD, you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
You know, you live in survival mode long enough, you don't feel anything. You don't cry, you don't laugh, you feel nothing. So I had to feel the feelings and go through the ick and go through the junk inside and feel those emotions, and then let them come to the surface and like cope with them.
And Rebecca, how'd you end up at Free? I know you've been here with your kids for a little over a year.
So, I started coming. So my best friend, Abby, who a lot of you know, I've known Abby since we both had little kids in our old neighborhood. And she suggested I check it out. You know, as I mentioned, I've been divorced now 8 years from my ex-husband, who is still an active alcoholic. So I have to co-parent with him, and I have to watch my kids go interact with him and be in the alcoholic household and then come back to me. And that causes me a lot of anxiety and stress. And so I came to Free and just immediately felt a connection. And I also thought it would be really, the goal was for my kids, because it's really important for my kids who have even less resources than I do to be amongst and around people who know what it's like to live with these problems. So we started coming, and we've never looked back.
Yeah. And I think you can speak to the positive results in your life.
Oh, yeah.
That have come out of being honest and getting honest with your life.
Yeah, I mean,
and you help other people now.
Yes, I mean, I wholeheartly believe that becoming honest was sort of the key to changing my life, because you know, if you can't be honest with yourself, then you can't be honest with anyone else. And you know, it's brought me a connection, you know, first of all, to my family, my father, both of my half-sisters. It's made me have real connections with friends and made new friends that I don't think I would have had I not made those changes.
And tell us the work you do with Rose Andom.
Yeah, so you know, one of the things I started to do when I started to find healing was I really wanted to help other people who had been, you know, much like the service we talk about here at Free. So I started volunteering at the Rose Andom Center for. So the Rose Andom Center does a lot of work with women and people who have experienced trauma and violence in their lives. That way I could be around women like me, people like me, and I do volunteer work with their Pathways for Hope, which is a program for children who have been impacted by violence.
Yeah. And you said to me, I wrote it down when you said it, you said, I like who I am today, because when you're hiding, you don't know who you are.
Right.
Today I know who I am, and I like it.
Yes, it's true. I mean, I think when you're hiding absolutely everything about yourself, it's kind of hard to figure out who you are, because you're something different to everybody in your life. But when you become real and authentic, you know, it's like, wow, I like the real me. So if you don't like the real me, okay, well, you know.
Deal with it.
Right.
And so I started off by saying you weren't really raised with any sort of spiritual path, but in your recovery,
right?
And we do call it recovery, right? In your recovery, what role has faith played?
I mean, I didn't even understand the concept of things like faith and hope. I didn't have that in myself, and I didn't have that in the world, because, you know, I'd sort of been raised to sort of think that I was this disaster and would always have to be taken care of. And then, you know, I was in this marriage. And so what Free and spirituality and faith and God have given me is just a hope and a faith that, you know, that I'm not alone, that I can do this, and that there's hope for the future.
Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge with you all, I realize this is what we might call a more sensitive topic, her being a domestic abuse survivor. And so I also want to throw out to you, because Rebecca told me this, she's willing, if anyone needs someone to talk to, someone who's been there, Rebecca's willing to be that person. So if you want to stick around and talk to Rebecca, I know she would be more than happy to pass that along.
That's the key. You're not alone, right? That was the key for me, like finding connection, realizing that I wasn't alone, and also understanding that there's no playbook in life for this stuff, right? There's no book out there that's like, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, and you'll be healed. Like it's an ongoing process, and like not being alone is sort of the best way to go through it.
Yeah. And so what do you say in closing, Rebecca, for someone who's really struggling, has this thought of, I want to be honest in my life, I want to get honest with my life, but I don't even know how to do that. I don't have the concept for it. And they're living in something similar to what you were living in, being the loved one. What do you say?
I mean, again, the first thing is that there are resources, and you're not alone. If I had known about places like Rose Andom or Safe House Denver when I was married, If I had had someone like me, then it would have been different. But also that, sometimes you have to sit in that awful ickiness feelings, and that even though that's hard and it's certainly not fun, that, it's worth it, because on the flip side, you get to actually wake up in the morning and feel lucky to be alive and like who you are.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being willing to come and share your story with us. Really so valuable and such a sacred story. Thank you for your willingness to share. Rebecca Leatherman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Rebecca. All right, y'all. The way we close things here on a Saturday night is very similar to how we begin. We open with celebrations, we lift up the good. Well, we close with what we call heartaches, because we know that we have the power of trying to carry around burdens on our own, and we think we're doing good at it until we find out we suck at it. And it's why you have community. It's why we have a God who hears the cries of the people. So we take 3 minutes for this. If you're you're carrying a burden alone, I invite you to put words to it, articulate it, take that first step in getting it out. And if you need prayer, encouragement, lifting up, community, well, that's what this time is for. Again, if you're online, just put your heartache in the YouTube section, the comments, or the Facebook comments. We'll join with you there. We'll take 3 minutes. Renee has a mic. Matt has a mic. Just lift up your hand. This time is yours.
I just wanted to ask for prayer for my daughter Jade, she's in the ICU right now, and she is suffering from her active addiction, and I am just needing the prayers and encouragement of my community for her. Her twin sister is actually with me right now, and she is, how clean are you? 22 days clean from fentanyl and meth.
Way to go. And prayers for the family. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Brian. Just want to say a prayer for my son, Tyler, who just recently came out that he's heavily addicted to cocaine and just trying to get help right now. Thank you.
Prayers for Tyler.
Hey, it's Allison. I just want to pray for my grandma who has cirrhosis from this disease and who is struggling and dying.
Prayers for your grandma and for you and your family.
I'm Ron. I'm an addict. Just prayers for everybody that struggles with the holidays this time of year, longer nights, less daylight. It's tough on a lot of people.
Yep, hard time for many. Thank you for mentioning that, Ron. Prayers for them. Is your hand up? Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you were resting it on your head or head.
I would like to ask everybody to pray for my daughter. She's 27 years old and she's 7 months pregnant. She's addicted to fentanyl. She's due March 17th, and that's why I got sober, so I'll probably be a new mom. But I would like everybody to pray for her, because I would really love her to raise that baby.
Prayers for her and you and the baby. All right, lifting up Daisy.
I just would like to ask prayer for me and my family, and also for the people that are homeless who may not have support or any family or nowhere to go during the holidays.
Yeah, definitely. Lifting them up. Thank you for mentioning them.
I'm Melissa. I just asked for prayers for Christine when I return her to the facility tonight to have the tools to stay put and get the help that she needs.
Christine, we are rooting for you and praying for you and sending you all our love and good vibes and energy. You can do this. Anyone else? Oh, no one else, because we're out of time. Matthew, are you going to join me up here?
I will.
I do have one more to mention. Some of you know Ashley Foxworthy. She was new in this community. She was joining us every week for a few months. And she shared, her last week here, she shared that she was going in for open heart surgery. Doctors found something they needed to fix with her heart, 38 years old. She made it successfully through the surgery, but I received a call from one of her friends yesterday. She passed away this week. I think it was a blood clot, but prayers for Ashley's family and friends. And I know some of you here knew her, and this friend asked that I let people know. So prayers for them and everyone who knew her. Yeah, man, we see the heaviness of addiction here and the holidays, and that's why it's so important for us to connect, Matt. Amen. Shall we connect with our online people? All right, let's do that. Let's do that.
I'll take the first one.
Okay, why don't you take the first one?
Kay says, after last Saturday's service, my fiance and I were the victim in a hit and run. We're okay. The car's okay. I know God was watching over us. Prayers to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roger says, prayers for all struggling with addiction. Yeah, Roger, someone else mentioned them here too. We're going to keep lifting them up and keep connecting. That's why we do what we do here. Thanks, Matt, for joining me up here, dude. Thanks for passing around mics, you and Renee. Hey, listen, one of the ways we stay connected here as a community, one of the ways we are able to keep the mission of breaking the silence of addiction thriving in the community and across the country is through your generosity. I remind you each week we are funded by you, the people. So when I tell you we are grateful for your giving, we truly mean it. I know many of you have made this a spiritual practice in your life, a sacrificial practice, and it means a lot here. We truly are grateful for it. It makes a big difference. And so I just want to remind you that there's a giving box right here besides Bobby G. Bobby G, put your hands in the air like you just don't care. Okay, there you go. There's a giving box just outside the other doors as well. And for those of you that want to give, want to donate, but don't have cash, well, there's 3 online options. The first is to download the app, Free Spiritual Community. And we are having problems with it right now. We're working on resolving it. So if you're looking for it and you can't find it, it is getting fixed. But if you already have it, you should be fine. You can give there, or you can go right to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and you can give there. Or you can text the number on your screen, and it walks you through a simple set of instructions. And again, it is your generosity that keeps growing the mission of breaking the silence of addiction. And y'all, listen, I hope you see how important it is to do this work together, to keep on connecting, to keep showing up for one another like y'all do. So thank you for participating and giving as well, especially if you call this place home, these people, your tribe, your people, your crew, whatever you call them. Shall we go out with a prayer? I invite you to open your hands. Simple sign of openness. Ain't nothing woo-woo or creepy about it. You're just simply inviting the God of the universe into your breathing. Yeah. You have a sign of openness with your hands. Your openness, spirit moving in you and through you and all around you. God doing for you what you cannot do for yourself. Be reminded you're here. You have a gift. If you don't know the Serenity Prayer, it's on your screen, and it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Grace and peace to you, my free brothers and sisters. See you next time.